So since 2014, the Chinese government has had the Strike Hard campaign, where they have really tried to crack down on Uyghur culture, and where they've really sort of done this, they've equated Islam and terrorism. And so what's happened there is that they've put many Uyghur people into political re-education camps, something which Human Rights Watch has called crimes against humanity. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights has looked at what's also gone on and also said that they think it would amount to crimes against humanity. So this has been going on systematically. We saw in 2018, 2019, we saw a lot of this peaking, but it is ongoing crimes against humanity in different ways. So you've got the re-education camps, you've got forced labour, you've got people being arbitrarily detained or prosecuted for things like, having Quran teachings on their phones. It's sort of insidious in every aspect of Uyghur people's and Turkic Muslims people's lives.
So Beijing is accusing the community of trying to break away from its rule. Is there an active separatist movement?
Yeah, look, I think that, what we're seeing at the moment is that, there's so much repression and so much surveillance and so much oppression that I think that, you're not getting any chance to sort of have anything go on in the Xinjiang region without Chinese control.
Let's talk about these re-education camps that you mentioned as well. Thousands are being forced to attend this. What actually happens in these camps?
Yeah, so these re-education camps are trying to re-educate people out of what is, Turkic Muslim or Uyghur culture and into Chinese culture. So, there are things like, being forced to, participate in songs, religious, not be able to do religious practices, and sort of go into more of go into a Chinese way of life, Chinese Communist Party way of life.
Is the aim to assimilate the Uyghurs into the larger Chinese society, or is it to just eradicate Uyghur culture and tradition altogether?
Look, I think there is an erasure of the culture. That is what the attempt is. I think it's to completely erase the culture. And so what we're seeing with these village names is that any name, there's sort of three categories, any name that has a religious sort of affiliation or historical affiliation or a cultural affiliation, those names are being changed for Uyghur people. Those names are being changed then to Chinese names that consistent with the Chinese Communist Party ideology. So the most predominant name changes we're seeing are Harmony, Unity, and Happiness. So Happiness Village, Harmony Village, and Unity Village. Also other ones like, Red Star and names like that.
So we're looking at the map now of these villages, names that have been changed. Some people would say, well, it's just a change in a village name. What does it matter?
Look, I think it does matter because it is about the culture and it's specific criteria that's changing it. It's changing it because these are names that relate to Uyghur cultural, religious or historical affiliations. And the reason this came to us was because we had a woman who contacted our partner organisation who we did this research with, and what she did is she came out of a re-education camp and she tried to buy a bus ticket to go home and she couldn't find her village, and that was because she realised that it had been renamed. And so what happened was we thought, well, let's see how systematic and pervasive it was, and that's when we started to scrape the data on this to try and see how pervasive it was. And what we found is that as we said earlier, 630 village names with those criteria had been changed.
Are the Uyghurs the only ethnic group that's being targeted in this way, or are you seeing other ethnic groups as well?
Yeah, absolutely not. So we are seeing other ethnic groups also being targeted. So we recently released a report on Tibetans and forced relocations of Tibetans who basically are being forced out of their traditional villages or areas and being forced into other areas forced to work in factories and without their consent, and sort of essentially shutting down their villages. So we're certainly seeing that in other areas. Look, it's increasingly hard to gather data and report on these things, which is why this report is such a useful report, because we were able to scrape data from Chinese government websites, and Chinese government sources to be able to map that change. And so a lot of our techniques these days are relying on this open source investigation.
Now, on the other hand, China says that what they're doing in Tibet and in the Xinjiang province is actually pouring in billions of dollars of infrastructure and development and to help the community progress as well. Is that what you're seeing?
No. So what we are seeing is that people are being surveilled, people are being detained, people are being into forced labour. We did another report recently on the aluminium industry and looking at how, specifically in the Xinjiang region, but other regions too, what you're seeing is that there's is pervasive forced labour, and so Uyghur people and other people are being forced into these camps, into these forced labour factories to make aluminium that then is a key component for cars, and then it's part of the burgeoning car industry. So there's no economic argument there that accepts forced labour as being an acceptable byproduct of that.